Hey y'all, welcome back to the Clancy Family Homestead. Today I am forcing my husband to join me in this video, and we are going to talk about what we are looking for with our next property. Things that are kind of deal breakers or just different key things we're looking for after having homesteaded for almost 5 years at this property, kind of what we've learned and what we're taking to the next property. The biggest thing
for me is land.
He wants at least
50 acres.
The more the better.
Yes.
The more the merrier. If we could find, 100 acres in our price range, we'd go for it. Second thing, I think the biggest thing beyond just getting the land that we want is a structurally sound house.
Yes.
On the property.
That is number one. It has to be structurally sound or we're not even going to look at it.
Yes.
50 acres or more would be ideal.
Yeah.
In our price range.
If it is a complete gut job of a house, like we have to completely bring it down to bare bones and redo it, we are fine with that, as long as obviously like the finances on that work. We don't mind doing work. I also don't mind, neither of us mind living through a renovation. Obviously, there's certain things that may have to be done prior to us living there if it's like a roof is leaking and it's not safe or something like that. But we don't mind having to do work. We built this house, and although it is like our dream house, our dream layout, we realize like we don't need a perfect house. We don't need it to be pretty.
Right. And with her homeschooling our kids now, we're able to look in other locations that have more of the property and stuff that we would like. Yeah. And we're also able to look in an area where we could have a retirement home versus staying here until our kids are out of public school. Because they're homeschooled, we can do that right now.
Yeah, that's kind of what we went back and forth for a long time with. We realized that although almost 14 acres is wonderful, it just wasn't as much as we really wanted for all that we do. But we had talked about for a long time staying here until the kids were out of school, just because they had been in public school. But the longer we wait to find our forever property, the longer we have that I felt like we couldn't really do much here. Like we couldn't, right. I didn't want to plant more trees because we would leave them, and we probably would be just at the point of them really producing by the time we left here. Whereas now we can kind of start and build and feel like that's where we're staying.
Right. So if, like she said, at first we talked about if our kids stayed in public school, we could buy a camp like most people have, and we could go there on the weekends and plant apple trees or whatever. But since they're not in public school, there's no reason for us to have two mortgages per se. We might as well just go find that property now, start putting the trees and stuff on it that we want. So when we retire, that property's already set up how we would like it.
Yeah. Now, I think for most people who are just looking for land for homesteading, obviously a big thing is looking for clearings, looking for space where you can have a garden, have pastures, things like that. But I think because we're looking at a property, we want a large property, and the bigger portion of the property is going to be utilized for hunting. I only need, I could probably do all of what I need on like an acre or two. Ideally, obviously with animals, you want a little bit more, but pigs can be pastured through woods. Chickens can be pastured in woods. All those things can be, silvopasturing, where you have them pasturing through woods. So I don't think we necessarily are looking for like a property with massive clearings. No. We can clear land.
Yeah, we can clear land. If there's properties that have, pastures or fields, I'm not against it. But I want a mix of fields and woods, and if there's water on the property, that would be awesome.
Yeah. We definitely need to be looking on like the more homesteading side and gardening side, making sure that the soil drains well. Our property here actually does drain very well. We're kind of on a hill, so everything drains off to the sides, which is really nice. My parents, though, up the road, they're not far from us, and they're on a fairly flat chunk. And their property definitely holds water more. I've talked about it in the past with like growing food up there. We struggled because like everything just stayed wet. We tried growing potatoes and they were sopping wet, even though it had been really dry. So making sure things like that, for the purpose of growing food. Obviously for hunting,
Yeah,
water's fine.
Wetlands, stuff like that isn't a huge concern for hunting. Sometimes that's great habitat for animals.
Yeah, it's not ideal for dragging an animal out or getting a 4-wheeler in there to drag an animal out, but that's totally fine for hunting. But for the homesteading side, I need to make sure that my soil's decent. I'm not going to be doing like soil testing before we put in an offer on a property. I know a lot of people do that. You can
kind of tell.
We can add if we need to. Obviously, yeah, you can kind of tell what's growing. Is it mostly like weeds that are ones that most people would want to get rid of, but that grow really well in terrible soil? If you see that, you know that it's probably not the greatest. But we can build soil.
Yep.
That's all things we can add. We would love to have some kind of water on the property. That would be awesome, but it's not a make or break by any means.
No.
It would be nice just for like security purposes to have some kind of water source. I think beyond that, there's really not a ton.
No.
We're not like making this long list and having to check all these boxes because we don't mind doing work to a property or to the house. We kind of have our options wide open, which is really nice. Obviously, we want to look within kind of an hour-ish of where he works just because of commute. But beyond that, district doesn't matter. He would like to stay in the southern hunting zone, which we're kind of right on the cusp of right now.
Right.
We're not far from northern.
But if we find a property in the northern zone, I can make it work.
Yeah, as long as the property is like ideal, what we want, then that's fine. Structures, if we're buying a property that is established, we're not building we're not building ever again. But, having structures. We're not building again.
Remember that.
I don't want to build again. Having structures is nice, starting out, having places where we can put our chickens and put all of our equipment and things. But again, that's not a deal breaker by any means. We can build. He's semi-handy. No, I'm kidding. He's just not a carpenter. Nobody better come, check the squareness of any of our structures. But other than that, we can do anything. We can build anything, and add what we need. And I'm really excited to start over and actually take our time.
Yeah. I'm excited to learn a new property for my end of it.
Yeah, for the hunting.
Yeah.
Which I've talked about a couple videos ago. My husband has a YouTube as well that he started, Clancy Outdoors, and he will be talking a lot in regards to what we're looking for with the property, when we actually find our property or start looking. For hunting, for wildlife habitats, is there deer on the property? Is there turkey? Is there wildlife that he can obviously, we need wildlife on our property. We need to be able to harvest wildlife. That's important to us. That's a big part of what we eat. So he'll be talking a lot about that and the property management on that end. And I will be wanting to grow all the things and build all the things and get all the animals. So, like I said, we will bring you guys along on this whole journey. We will keep you guys updated. Right now, we're not looking, but we hope to be looking probably springtime, and we will bring you guys along for that. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. Remember, we're growing today for a better tomorrow. Please like and subscribe, and join me on the next one.